Jim Tressel. Let me get the name out of the right way so I can say it right. Sweater vest guy. Ohio State coach resigns. Why do we care about that here at Penn State? That's the first question. Let me just throw it out there. Why do we care?
Well, because they're in the same league as Penn State, and they're a neighboring rival of Penn State, and they're a recruiting competitor of Penn State.
Boom. 3 reasons. Terrell Pryor is the quarterback at Ohio State. Probably no more. He's still there, but I don't think he's played. I think he's played his last football game there. He was a high recruit of Penn State. Came into Ohio State, Penn State. Pryor's father wanted him. He met Joe Paterno, wanted him to go to Penn State. Pryor elects to go to Ohio State. Maybe for the best for Nittany Lion fans, but this guy is supposed to be at the center of the storm for all of this pay for players. In fact, I just heard he pulled up on a new call.
Nissan
Z, still have the templates on it. What can we say about what's going on with this situation?
There's so much going on here. It's interesting from a media standpoint because when this thing with the tattoo parlor first came out, ever since then, the media has kind of been turned loose in Columbus trying to find stuff, and they have found stuff about cars and boosters and all of this crazy stuff that is sort of like almost a cliche about excess in college football. Sports Illustrated, this week's Sports Illustrated, which is coming out in a couple days, has a big report on this. It's been anticipated for a couple of weeks, and they supposedly went to Ohio State last week and said, this is what we've got. And apparently, that led to this happening the way it did on Memorial Day. Tressel resigning yesterday. The timing of it, I think he was gone anyway, but the timing of it, I think, had a lot to do with the specifics of Sports Illustrated actually going to Ohio State, which I thought is interesting and unique. If Tressel, when he first heard about the tattoo stuff, if he'd have gone to Ohio State's compliance people, NCAA compliance people, and said, "You guys, here's what I know, here are the facts, take care of this," he would still be Ohio State's coach today. I don't think there's any question about it. It would have been a relatively minor deal. It's a lot like Watergate. The media aspect of it, where I was just talking about, and also the idea that the cover-up is worse than the crime, which we've seen so many times in American life and various scandals. This is a great example of that.
It sure seemed like Jim Tressel was one of these guys where he'd introduce a player to somebody with some known background financially, a booster or something, maybe, and then turned his back and then act like he didn't know what was going on. So the Schultz, I see nothing, I hear nothing.
It almost seems like a lot of willful ignorance on his part.
If I don't know about it, it doesn't exist, and
you're going to see a lot of that in this Sports Illustrated story.
So a couple quick questions for you that relate to Penn State here. Penn State's the recruiting class for 2012. Is it a strong class or not? Will this play a factor now that Ohio State's going to be sanctioned? It's going to lost its coach.
We're speculating. We're speculating here, but it's certainly
They did lose their coach. They do have some punishment.
The high school class of 2012 in the state of Ohio and the state of Pennsylvania are supposed to be very strong. Best in a long time. It's been down for a while. Now it's expected to be really good. Ohio State was already said to be struggling a little bit in terms of getting kids from Ohio. Who knows what impact this is going to have, and who knows what impact it's going to have on Penn State maybe being able to step in with some of these kids. And also Ohio State is very active in Pennsylvania. Terrell Pryor would be Exhibit A. And the other thing about this, so the recruiting aspect, I think, of it is significant. The other thing is Penn State's schedule, which it looks like a pretty tough schedule, and they have this sort of murderer's row in November where they go Nebraska and then at Ohio State and at Wisconsin. But before that, they don't really have a lot of tough games, and there's a pretty good chance that they could go into November maybe 8-1 with a loss to Alabama, and then they have a bye week before they play Nebraska at home, and then the following week they go to Ohio State, which who knows what kind of a mess that could be. So it's not quite as much maybe of a murderer's row as we thought.
What does this say about, you have Ohio State that's been a traditional power, was obviously had a great run here. USC, a traditional power, had a great run under Pete Carroll. Now they're both under probation. Sanctions are coming down, lost their coaches recently. Joe Paterno just keeps going along. Would this have happened if Pryor was at Penn State? He narrowed it down to 2 places, decided against his father's wishes to go there.
Well, who knows?
Who knows? But Columbus, Penn State are different. Happy Valley State College is a little bit different setup than Columbus. And what does it say about the Penn State program that they've sort of flown under the radar?
I know what you're saying. I don't believe that you have to like deliberately and egregiously break the rules in order to win. I don't think you have to do that. Another aspect of this is Columbus is a big town. And State College is a small town. I think that's a little bit of an aspect of this, too. Of course, we would all like to believe that these guys are all clean. We would like to believe that Joe Pa runs as clean as he can, although, of course, nobody's completely free of NCAA violations. But the intent is the big factor here, and Penn State has been doing it a long time under Joe without any problems in the intent to cheat.